So here we have a blank canvas. I'm using Photoshop 2022. This is not torrented because I'm not evil.
At least inside me, you know.
I'm very laid back in my work. I do put in hard work, but most of the time I'm very laid back in the way I perform and do things. This is a recollection of basically notes that I took during my years in creating art. Let's start with my brush, the line art brush. If we go over to this section, we see there's transfer, shape dynamics, and smoothing. I have no idea what smoothing does, but I know what transfer and shape dynamics do because they're the main brushes the main brush values that I use. Without transfer, your brush looks like this. As you can see, it's a solid color. No matter what I paint, it will always be a solid color. However, if I turn transfer on, suddenly my brush looks like this. There's a value shift between light, dark, light. Now this can vary based on pen pressure sensitivity. If I hold my pen firmly down, you get this solid color, except for here when I slightly lifted it off. If I gently press down, I'll get a gray color. This replicates the feel of an actual pen. I know some of you guys probably use bamboo, but that's how my tablet works. Step 1 is line art. Basically the blueprint for your painting. Say I wanted to paint a cube. This would be the line art. If I want a kind of pencil-y feeling, I'll go with this. There are many styles to this line art you can apply. For example, say I wanted a dark line. Get some thick lines. This isn't very practical, but it's one way of doing it too. It's a method I saw on Twitter the other day. What you can do is you can take your marquee tool or lasso tool, create the shape, fill it in, and if you're using Photoshop, you can go to the layer, double click it, and go to outer glow. What that does, once you select it using quick selection, you can merge another layer down with it, press Ctrl Shift, and delete the inside. And then you have line art. Adjust your values in outer glow. You can, make it how big or small, thick or thin you want, and all sorts of stuff. I know that this information is Photoshop reliant, so I would suggest sticking with the first thing that I went over, the pencil style. These are the 3 types of processes I'll just lay down for now. There are many other ways, but these are the main ones that I know. Next step is the coloring process. This is pretty simple actually. The base color is it's self-explanatory. It is the base color that you're going to use before you start lighting your piece. So let's say I want a red cube. What I like to do is I like to go somewhere in the middle and choose a color, typically like that. Now I purposefully made it kind of messy so I could show you how I clean up after. It would be very preferable if you had a lasso tool that's either polygonal or something that you can trace around the object, that sticks around the object like this. Doing this with, this can get very messy. Go in here, maybe, like add a couple strokes, try to clean it up a bit. If it's overflowing, go down here, get your eraser brush. Circular, I always use circular brush nowadays, by the way. All painting softwares have the circular brush. If you don't have magnetic lasso or something that traces your object, or if you don't have the polygonal lasso, that's totally fine. This is what you got. Another base color I use is a two-tone base color. Usually I take an opposing color or something outlandish and go over it and just start, like dragging colors everywhere. Go to my transfer brush on my eraser tool that has shape dynamics and transfer on, and I'm just gonna erase, give it a texture. It doesn't just stop there, you can add like even more. Like that's blue, right? And now you have a two-tone kind of clayish looking square that's mixed in with other colors to give it a sense of like vividness. Just an artistic thing that I do for some of my pieces. Let's go to lighting. Okay, so this is base color. Yeah, you know what? I like that too. We'll keep that too. It's going to be 3. This is going to be a lighting. I'm back with coffee. I use one particular type of lighting I don't think many people use. I could be wrong though. The method of lighting I use is called overlay. Oh yeah, if I remove this, you get this kind of cool like cool thing going on here. Cool, isn't it? You can make glass like this. Let's start with base color 1. Ignore base color 2 for now. Let's create a new group and call this lighting. To understand lighting, you have to understand what your piece is made of. In Substance Painter, this is called roughness. Roughness is how rough or shiny your material looks. If I were to create something rough, I would use very little white, but more black. We're going to paint the ambient occlusion of this to signify what material it's made of. Right now, this looks like a dirty, solid block of clay. No shiny on it. It's just one tone that has one lighting. If I were to apply actual light to it, it would look a lot like this. Like, say the light's coming from this way, right? It would look like that. Ambient occlusion, which is these little shadow points over here. Ambient occlusion goes into object AO and contact AO. Object ambient occlusion is the ambient occlusion within the given object. Contact AO is the ambient occlusion that's going to be on the ground. Let me show you what that looks like. Okay, let's try it with this one. This time I'm going to use two-tone lighting. This is one-tone lighting. Here I'm going to do the same thing. Light is going to come from above. You often see me like do this. There's a much easier way of doing this. With your marquee tool, go to the color, quick select it, fill that in with a circular brush, just like however you want. Give it some texture, like that. We're going to make ourselves the light section. Focus the light more on the top than on the bottom. If you got too much, just take your eraser brush and chip away at it. If you don't exactly know where your line is, you can reduce opacity and clean it up that way. Go to normal, go to overlay. Now you have this two-tone lighting, color and light at the same time. This looks a little dark, so we're going to reduce the darkness on it. Now there's another element we're missing, ambient occlusion. I don't use this in everything I do because most things I do are sketchy. I should start using this. It's actually pretty cool. Go here, copy, and paste that. Because it's literally like the same thing. Does not matter. Overlay that, and let's get it clearly shown. Here's the thing about roughness. The less rough it is, the more it will reflect things around it. Right now we're using this gradient, this gray gradient in the background, yeah? Go to our color, like this, and apply it wherever it's supposed to be applied. So you see it reflected mostly in shadows. So we can do something like this, because it's reflecting the environment around it. Now, if there was another object, obviously, whatever is inside of the object, would be reflected here as well. So we have this, right? What can we define this as? Clay? If it is, what textures does clay have? For one, it's moldable, so you can chip away at it, you can expand it, squeeze it, squish it. In this case, I'm going to chip away at it to make it look sculpty. That's a word that I just made up. Cleaning up so that your lines aren't there, making it look more painterly than anything. Very simple. You go with your brush and start thinking about how you could erase the lines without ruining everything. Here I am creating the effect of chipped clay by painting in indents. In color and lighting, you can go here and either group it or convert to smart object and create a mask. Now this mask will basically invisibilize anything that is painted using the color black. It's not destructive because it's not erasing its data. It's only erasing whatever the mask data is showing. Let's say I erase something, go to the mask layer and delete layer mask. It reverts to its normal state without me having to merge everything. In this, pretty much, I will create some organicness around my clay cube. Make it look very painterly. Like that. With that, you can go to finishing and start working on how you can improve the painterly feel of the object. For an artistic feel, I do usually leave some thick lines here and there. But this is pretty cool actually, but there's one more layer of lighting that I like to use. Go around the whole thing with a magnetic lasso tool. I could go around the whole thing with a magnetic lasso tool and just put random ass colors down. Like literally any color down. Like just go here and apply overlay. Now I've prismatized it. It's got this prismatic feel to it that I really like. I know I don't want the whole thing to look like this, so I can focus out the parts I don't want to see this on. If I wanted this to look shiny, go around it and create this kind of outline. Add another layer to it. Now it looks super shiny. And it's got this prismatic feel around it. Doesn't feel dull and dead. It feels bright and vivid. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Follow my Twitter.